It's Saturday morning, and you know what that means. Wakey, wakey, hands off, snaky. You must have had a really, really bad few days. Because not only are you probably suffering through a Saturday morning hangover from Friday night partying on Black Friday, but then you probably didn't give yourself a ton of recovery time from amateur night, which of course is Thanksgiving Eve. Then you had to spend time with the family, tryptophan yourself out of your mind, probably didn't get a chance to nap or sleep all that much. Then you decide, let's go out and do it again Friday night, and look what happens. You're in even worse shape than you would normally be on a Saturday morning, but that is what we're here for. It is Sports Frenzy 2.0. It is your Saturday morning and your Thanksgiving Eve and your Thanksgiving and your Black Friday hangover cure. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. I'm going it alone this week. Holidays get in the way, concerts get in the way, and of course, that's great news for you because next week, when the Conquistador, Dave Height, returns to the fold, we will have our review of Chris Isaak live in concert at the Lerner Theater in Elkhart, Indiana. Great, great show, but more on that next week. For now, as always here, as you fry up the eggs and the bacon and the sausage and you pound down a couple aspirin, we always start off here Saturday morning, in this case, November the 25th, with rock and roll, with music. As I mentioned, concert review next week, so we're going to take it easy on you this week. Not going to force a whole lot of new music on you. We're going to save that again for the return of the Conquistador, your Uncle Dave. Next week, we'll have a review of the brand new album from Jackal frontman Jesse James Dupree, Breathing Fire. But what I've got for you this week is we're going to travel back in time. We're going to review new music, but old music. One album and one new song, or old song. But first up, normally, of course, our rules are here on Sports Frenzy, we do not review greatest hits or live packages. It's not what we do. We want to help you listen to new music, new rock and roll, discover new bands, rediscover old artists putting out new music. Now, you guys know that Dave and I love Night Ranger. Usually get to see him live in concert every year or two, whether they're the headliner or the opening act for somebody else. Of course, earlier this summer, they were part of Party Gras with Bret Michaels and put on their usual fantastic show. Well, just a little bit after that, a few months after that, we get a deluxe CD and DVD edition, which of course would make a great gift for the rock and roll fan in your life. CD and DVD for under $20. Night Ranger did a show with the Contemporary Youth Orchestra. It is called 40 Years and a Night. Of course, 40 years referring to the 40th anniversary of the mighty Night Ranger. Now, we're not going to get into a lot of detail on this. I'll run down the track listing on the CD and the DVD for you. A little bit different. So there's only going to be one extra performance, one extra song on the DVD side. Now, this took place at the KeyBank State Theater in Cleveland, Ohio on November the 9th of last year. So the concert itself that's recorded here about a year old. But, of course, Night Ranger, as always, delivers and delivers in spades. How does it work with an orchestra? How do the Night Ranger hits their best songs work with an orchestra. Now, I have been ripping all year on Def Leppard's Drastic Symphonies and how really abysmal that project was, how they destroyed Pour Some Sugar on Me. We've heard in the past, of course, S&M, Metallica, Kiss has done this. And I will say this. I am not impartial when it comes to Night Ranger. But I think this particular performance, this particular CD and DVD, the band uses the orchestra perfectly. Absolutely perfectly. They are there to accentuate the songs, not change the songs. And of course, because Night Ranger has a keyboardist, the keyboard's the perfect instrument for a project like this. You can use the orchestra to kind of take the place or enhance the keyboard parts. So that's why I think this works so well for Night Ranger, is because of their use of a full-time keyboardist as one of their members. Now, let me run down the track list for you. I'm not going to review the songs. This is just a general overview. You know these songs. You love them. You get a quick intro leading into You Can Still Rock in America, 4 in the Morning, Sing Me Away, Call My Name, which is probably one of the better songs to take advantage of the orchestra. Sentimental Street, High Road, of course, the greatest song named after a band, by that band, the song Night Ranger. And they do a phenomenal group drum solo. If you've seen Night Ranger in concert recently, you know what I'm talking about. All the members of the band during Night Ranger come out and beat on different parts of the drums, including, of course, their drummer, Kelly Kagi. So you get that here, of course. Really, the DVD is the main part here, where it's fine on CD, but you got to get the visual on DVD to really, really appreciate it. Then you get, of course, Goodbye. When You Close Your Eyes, Don't Tell Me You Love Me, and of course, closing out with Sister Christian. Again, highly, highly, highly recommend this. One of the better live albums I've heard in a long, long time, and easily, if not the best, one of the best albums where a band has incorporated an orchestra in. Definitely better than Def Leppard. And I swear, I'm going to stop ripping on Def Leppard at some point in time in the next decade about Drastic Symphonies, because I love Def Leppard. This was just a major, grave misstep on their part. Now, the DVD adds in the Damn Yankees hit High Enough, and that comes in between Night Ranger and Goodbye on the DVD. Probably time limitations on the CD. They had to cut that out, but they were able to include it, of course, on the DVD. So 40 Years and a Night from Night Ranger. I will give it 3.5 frenzies. It's that damn good. If you don't like Night Ranger, I don't know what your problem is. You need to see a doctor. You need to see a shrink. And if you love Night Ranger like you should, this is a fantastic, fantastic set to pick up. So, old songs in a new setting, in a new package. And now we are going to review a new song that is an old song from somebody who we'll talk about a little bit more in detail in a few minutes and later on in the show. Uh-oh, you probably know what that means. And it pains me that I'm going to have to do this later on to Sammy Hagar. Now, first the song. Sammy Hagar has gotten together with Artemis Pyle. Artemis Pyle was the second drummer for Lynyrd Skynyrd. Of course, there is a new tribute album coming out devoted to Lynyrd Skynyrd, and we have Sammy Hagar and the Artemis Pyle Band doing Simple Man. And in this respect, Sammy Hagar will always come through for you. Sammy Hagar, as a performer, as a singer, will always be faithful. He will always put it all out there. 100% effort. So this version of Simple Man, very, very good, very solid. I don't know if it's anything new. We recently reviewed Roadhouse Blues by the Black Moods. Of course, joined by Robbie Krieger of The Doors. That had a little bit more of a punch to it, just a little bit something different. Didn't change the song all that much, but it just felt a little more energetic, a little more unique. This is a pretty straightforward, solid, faithful rendition of Simple Man. Cool to hear Sammy Hagar singing it. So I'll give Sammy Hagar and the Artemis Pyle Band's version of Skynyrd's Simple Man a week, 2.5 frenzies. Now, continuing on with Mr. Hagar. In some rock and roll news this week, there are a ton of rock and roll headlines to discuss. Probably won't get into a ton of detail, probably save a lot of this discussion for next week with the Conquistador. But Sammy Hagar loves to talk out of both sides of his mouth. I love the man as a performer. He is always going to be near and dear to my heart because he was part of Van Halen. But don't go out and issue a challenge to Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth and say, come on, motherfuckers, join in. It's all about Van Halen. Talking, of course, about the upcoming 2024 Best of All Worlds tour, where he's bringing in Joe Satriani, of course, 3/4 of Chickenfoot, basically, with Jason Bonham taking the place of Chad Smith on drums. But Sammy gets ahead of himself with his mouth, as he always does. And we had a discussion about this, my friends and I did, including the Conquistador, before the concert last night. Sammy loves Eddie Van Halen. Sammy hates Eddie Van Halen. Sammy wouldn't do drugs. Sammy did some great drugs. Sammy loves to talk out of both sides of his mouth. So maybe we should call the tour the best of both sides of Sammy's mouth. Sorry, kind of lame joke. But he issues a challenge to Alex Van Halen and David Lee Roth. And you might not like David Lee Roth, but David Lee Roth is a very, very clever man. He's a very smart man. He might not be the businessman that Sammy Hagar is, but he ain't no dummy. So he comes back and says 2 sentences. I'm ready to go. Let's do this. And I think he was setting Sammy Hagar up, knowing that Sammy Hagar was going to pull a typical Sammy Hagar. Because, of course, that's what Mr. Hagar did. He backtracked and said, oh, no, I didn't mean that I wanted David Lee Roth to come out on tour with us. That's not what I meant. I can't fucking do that again. And that may be true, but don't put it out there to begin with, Sammy. I'm kind of jumping the gun here because I had this. I might as well just spoil it for you. I had Sammy Hagar down as one of my dumbasses of the week because of this. So I've kind of spoiled it, so we'll just finish it off. And he does deserve to be a dumbass of the week for this. Backtracking a few days after putting out his bold and brash invitation. And then when David Lee Roth says, yeah, let's do it, saying, oh, no, I can't do that. No, he won't remember the words to the songs. He's got to hurl insults. But he always acts like he was the bigger man. He always acts like he's the more mature. Sammy Hagar is a bullshit artist. And again, I love the guy. He is a bullshit artist. And I don't know how Michael Anthony has been able to put up with him. Because the guy acts like he lies all the time just to put himself in the spotlight, to make himself look good. And again, one last time, I will explain to you, I love Sammy Hagar. But I don't think he's a great person. He's not the great person he thinks he is, or that some people make him out to be. So there you go, an early spoiler here on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy. I ruined one of the dumbasses of the week. It is Sammy Hagar for being an absolute jackass and backing out on his challenge, his invitation to David Lee Roth. Now, of course, he says, well, he can show up at a show or two and I might let him on stage to sing a song. But again, he insults Dave and says, if he can remember the words. Not a class act, Sammy. Not a class act. And people with half a brain can see through you and can see through your bullshit. Again, I'm not happy with Sammy Hagar right now because this involves the fans. He teases the fans and then he pulls this crap. Really angry with Sammy Hagar right now. But maybe I'm not as angry as Daryl Hall is with John Oates, or vice versa. Hall and Oates, Daryl Hall has filed a lawsuit and a restraining order against John Oates. It is sealed, so we really don't know what it's about. Speculation is that it's, of course, financial. We got the Rolling Stones going out on tour. 16 shows in 2024, all at football stadiums, NFL stadiums, big college stadiums. I'm just not a fan of going to see shows in a football stadium. I'll do it here locally at Notre Dame Stadium, but I'm not going to Soldier Field. I'm not going to the old Riverfront Stadium in Cincinnati, wherever the Stones are playing. Just not, and especially when it comes down to how much are tickets going to be. I'm not taking out a second mortgage on the house to see the Rolling Stones, sponsored by, yes, no joke, AARP. And of course, Kiss has had to cancel 2 of their Canadian dates on their farewell tour, and they're getting close to the end here. A little over a week away from finishing things up at Madison Square Garden. Paul Stanley has a severe case of the flu. They are supposed to get back on the road here in the U.S. Actually, as we tape this episode, taping it a little later than normal, so this is getting taped on Friday, the 24th, of course, dropping on the 25th. The 24th is when Kiss is supposed to resume the last handful of dates on their farewell tour. We will see what happens. We'll have a follow-up for you next week on the weekend edition. And finally, and this is again something I'll save a little bit more for next week so Dave and I can discuss with you in a little more detail, but Axl Rose being sued for sexual assault all the way back in 1989. And we're seeing and hearing a lot of these. Jamie Foxx, of course, Oscar-winning actor, is going through this right now. There's some other celebrities who are dealing with this. I guess I just don't understand why it takes so long. And I know all you pop psychologists out there have the answer, and the trauma and the shame and the guilt. But this lawsuit in particular against Axl Rose was filed on the last possible day it could be filed. Something is hinky about that. Something is not quite right. If you have been assaulted, if you have been raped, if you have been molested, tell someone, tell the authorities. There is no shame in it. There is no guilt. You deserve retribution, vengeance in a court of law. But time and time and time again, situations like this arise where decades and decades later, somebody comes forward and says, oh yeah, that person assaulted me, that person abused me. And I think the problem becomes situations like this where you have doubts. It takes away from the legitimate, real, traumatizing instances, events that happen where it's not a money grab, where it's not something to get publicity or to get your name in the paper or the websites or social media or television. It just seems like things like this where it's decades and decades later, filed at the last possible minute, has the stink, has the feel of a money grab. You're taking away and debasing and degrading the true victims who really, really need our help, really, really need their time, their day in court to get their just desserts, their revenge on the people who abuse them. And that's kind of what makes me sick to my stomach. Again, I am not 100% dismissing what happened to the model in question. But again, circumstances, situations surrounding this lawsuit just seem very suspicious. All right, that being said, we are wrapping up segment 1 here on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0. Next up, movies. A couple of movie reviews for you. Blue Beetle, one of the latest in the DC superhero universe, of course, kind of one of the leftovers before James Gunn revamps everything. Aquaman, of course, coming out here soon into theaters, will be the last of the old DC movies before James Gunn's vision takes over. And then, of course, I have a story time. Even though it's a movie I've never seen before, again, the rules of Sports Frenzy come into play. Normally, if it's a movie that Dave or I were watching again, a repeat viewing, we have to have a legitimate reason, aka story time, why we're doing it. But this movie, a French movie, and of course I'll give you details in just a few minutes, a French movie from 1969. There's a story behind why I watched this. No, I'm not getting all artsy-fartsy on you. Stay tuned. Quick promo break. I will come back and explain why I subjected myself to a pretentious French movie along with Blue Beetle. I'll be right back, kids. Stay Here, stick around, stay tuned.
Yes. Listen, you will, to Sports Frenzy 2.0, you must. Much to learn from the Maestro and Conquistador there is for entertainment every Saturday. On Spotify, Anchor, Google, Apple, and everywhere are they found.
All right, kids, welcome back. Segment 2 here, Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition. Hope I'm not talking too loud. I know you're still getting over that hangover from Friday night, but we're going to get you through it. We've already gotten you through it with some rock and roll to a point, but now we have to talk about movies here on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0, dropping Saturday morning, November the 25th, 2023. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Your Uncle Dave is off this week. Holiday stuff, concert stuff next week, by the way. As we've mentioned previously, a review of Chris Isaak in concert at the Lerner Theater in Elkhart, Indiana. But for now, I have two vastly different, yet surprising reviews for you here in our movie segment on the weekend edition. Let's start off with the big budget, big money superhero movie that basically I don't think anybody cared about or anybody wanted to see. Still made a decent amount of money at the box office, over 70 million domestic. Not too shabby considering the current climate for superhero movies as the Marvels continues to tank here over Thanksgiving and Black Friday weekend. Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle just hit on Max last weekend. And part of me was rooting for this. Part of me really wanted Blue Beetle to succeed. Because Blue Beetle is one of those lesser known superheroes in the DC universe, and we've seen this in the past with the Marvel universe, where you can take a lesser known hero or group of heroes like the Guardians of the Galaxy. And if you do it right, you get the right director, you get the right creative team behind it, you can make it work and make it work better than the big name stars, heroes, icons of the DC or the Marvel universe. But alas and alack, that is not the case with Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle is the latest in a long string, I don't care if you're talking DC or Marvel, of massive failures. The writing is terrible. It's obvious we're trying to fit into a politically correct niche. In this case, we're trying to create a Hispanic superhero. Early on, we have commentary about illegal immigration. And of course, George Lopez has a major role in Blue Beetle. Do I need to really say more? I will. Now, the cool things, I will give credit for some of the cool things in this movie. Number one, they bring in OMAC. Not well. Not the OMAC that we remember. People of my generation, of my era. This is not the OMAC we remember, but at least you're keeping that idea alive. that concept alive, that character alive. Again, not in a great way, but still, kudos to DC for that. Special effects are very good, a lot of action. But again, who is it? What group of nitwits are writing these movies? And again, I'm not singling out this particular movie. I'm not singling out DC. You can go to Marvel, and I'll say this. Blue Beetle is better than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, which was by far the worst superhero movie I've ever seen in my life. But Blue Beetle had a little hope, instilled a little hope in me. Let's say about 30 minutes in until about the hour mark. I had a little bit of fun with it in there. I had hope for it. And then, of course, it completely and totally falls apart. We've got Grandma with a machine gun, and we've got the most irritating sister ever, who I really hoped would just die. Oh my God, she was irritating, awful, and terrible. And like I mentioned, George Lopez. Again, I'll go back to the positive here just for a moment. They do a nice job of explaining the Blue Beetle's past. Again, my era, we know what the Blue Beetle was. This, of course, this incarnation of the Blue Beetle is not what we were expecting. But at least they tried to explain why we got from point A to this point B. Because the Blue Beetle, growing up, what I understood the Blue Beetle to be, the Blue Beetle was a very, very minor DC character, and he was a joke. He was an overweight guy with a pot belly who wanted to be a superhero, used tech to somehow, some way, stumble his way into being a minor league hero. So at least they explain that away to some extent. But beyond that, this is just your typical generic, awful, awful superhero movie that we've experienced over the last 5 or 6 years. And now I'm beginning to wonder if I shouldn't have to apologize to Martin Scorsese. I need to sit down with him and ask him, when you were talking about how you don't like superhero movies, were you just talking about the last 5 years? Because I am with you on that. Even though you are an overblown, overrated hack, and all your movies feature Robert De Niro and people dropping F-bombs every 2 seconds. If you are not referring to Marvel movies from Endgame back, then I might agree with you. Because I'm telling you, we are on an unprecedented run of stupid, terrible, awful superhero movies. The only one that really can be called the exception to the rule is Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Otherwise, this is all shit. This is all garbage. Lazy writing, politically correct writing, not understanding your audience, not willing to create characters or create storylines to actually exceed expectations. Basically writing scripts on a napkin in a diner somewhere. Hey, let's throw $250 million at this. It'll be a hit. This is the garbage we're dealing with now. This is why Dave and I were saying, let the writers and the actors stay on strike. Because if we're going to get more of this trash, we don't need you. I'd rather watch old movies. I'll catch up on my 50s, 60s, 70s movie viewing instead of putting up with garbage like Blue Beetle. Blue Beetle gets a weak 1.5 frenzies. And I can't believe James Gunn actually came out and said, this is the one character he's going to keep and bring into his vision of the DC universe. This is the best. You screwed over Henry Cavill. We all got teased when we saw him at the end of Black Adam and thought maybe there's some hope for DC. After years and years and years of mediocrity, of course, Christopher Nolan's movies notwithstanding. Now I'm worried about James Gunn's vision for the DC universe. If he thinks Blue Beetle is good enough to carry over into his universe, his reboot of the DC comic universe, I'm worried. I am definitely 100% completely worried. Now, I will say this. I like the casting of Lex Luthor. News came out this week that Nicholas Hoult will play Lex Luthor in Superman Legacy. Of course, Nicholas Hoult, we know from recently Renfield, but of course, comic book geeks like me and you know him as Hank McCoy, the Beast, from the X-Men First Class generation of movies. I like the casting. We'll see how it plays out, but again, I don't like this whole Blue Beetle thing. Just drop it. Let it go. Let it die peacefully, a nice, quiet death. Blue Beetle should not have any kind of incarnation or impact in the future in the DC cinematic universe. All right, I promised a story time. A bizarre, weird, kind of kooky, crazy story time. Now, I am not always watching the big budget, big studio movies. I sometimes delve into independent movies, low budget stuff, and this goes back decades. I love movies. I love cinema. I don't like pretentious asshats like Martin Scorsese telling me I can't watch a superhero movie because I have to watch, his pretentious garbage. Let's get that straight right now. But I go both ways when it comes to movies. I can watch a small budget independent movie with actors I've never heard of before, actresses I've never heard of before, or I can watch Killers of the Flower Moon, which I will watch and review along with Dave at some point here, probably early 2024. But my daughter, here's the story time. Now, normally story time involves watching a movie that we have already previously watched. And I'm going to tell you right now, the way my weekend, my long Thanksgiving weekend is going, I'm really getting close to watching The Nice Guys again. Something like that. a movie that will make me feel good, because after watching Blue Beetle, I just need a pick-me-up. I need something to make me feel better. A great movie. And I'm really not going to roll the dice on something I haven't watched before, so maybe The Nice Guys will fit the bill. I'll have to find a way, maybe possibly, to create a story time for that in the coming weeks. But I didn't really need to create a story for this because this is a movie I have never watched before, but my daughter. Here's the story. My daughter comes back from France. Senior year in college. She gets to study abroad for 2 months. So September, October into mid-November, she is overseas. She is in France. She comes back. Can't speak a lick of French, which I don't understand. How do you spend 2 months overseas in a country and not pick up any aspects of their language whatsoever? But I digress. So she tells me in one of her classes she had to watch a French movie. 1969. The movie was called La Piscine, otherwise translated, known as The Swimming Pool. And she says the magic words. Anybody says this to me, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. When somebody challenges you, they say, oh, but you won't like it. You could be talking about food, a TV show, a movie, but you won't like it. You can't do that to me, because immediately I'm going to go, well, I'm going to watch it. I'm going to try it. I'm going to eat it. That is an implicit challenge when you say, but you won't like it. You don't have the right to tell me what I'm going to like and what I'm not going to like. And you guys, I know you guys feel the same way. So, when she said, you will not like La Piscine, I said, well, it's on HBO Max. I'm going to have to watch it. And I did. The good part of this is, believe it or not, it's better than Blue Beetle. It's better than Blue Beetle. But would I recommend it to you? No. No. La Piscine, the swimming pool from 1969, involves a love triangle that expands to a love, I don't know what you call a rectangle, a love square. It goes from 3 people to 4 people. And we all know we have our stereotypical views of pretentious French films, foreign films in general, right? We all know we think foreign films, they think they know more than us. They explore the depths of human emotion and human feeling. Now, again, looking at as I talked about here a couple minutes ago, looking at our last crop of superhero movies, maybe they're onto something, because God knows I would rather watch The Swimming Pool than Blue Beetle or Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania. So anyway, beautiful, beautiful people staring longingly, treacherous thoughts, emotional double crosses, mind games involved here. Everything is implied. You don't really see much in the way of the acts, the motivations that cause what we get. towards the end of this movie, I don't want to spoil it for you. I know you're never going to watch it because it's ridiculous to even think that you would want to watch a French movie from 1969 like I pretty much was forced to do. But there is a murder involved. You get the requisite uppity French police officer, French detective that comes in asking all the questions about what happened. We know what happened. We've seen it happen. We saw the crime. Again, I don't want to spoil anything, but I know you're not going to watch it. Suffice it to say, again, this is what you would expect when I would say to you, hey, why don't we sit down for 2 hours and watch a French film? This is what you would expect. It's subtitled. I guess there is a dubbed English version, but they cut 10 minutes out, and I'm not a big fan of that. If you're going to watch this, watch the subtitle version, which runs just over 2 hours. Again, it's better than Blue Beetle. It's better than Blue Beetle. Some pretty women. Little bit of redeeming qualities, which means AKA boobies. I can only give it 2 frenzies, but that's still better, again, than Blue Beetle. All right, let's wrap up the film segment here. Oh my God, I just feel so awful. I have to talk about Blue Beetle and a French love triangle movie. I feel like I've let everybody down. How can I go on? I have given you nothing. Again, watch The Nice Guys, because that's what I'm going to do when I'm done taping this episode. Dave's not here. I'm gonna walk upstairs, turn on my PlayStation, pop in my Blu-ray of The Nice Guys, and watch something actually good. Because God knows I need it after these 2 movies. There is a new Karate Kid movie coming out that is going to blend not only the old school Karate Kid movies, but the newer Karate Kid movie. Of course, with Will Smith's kid. Huge hit. Nobody's denying the fact that it was a huge hit. But Jackie Chan from that Karate Kid movie, and you take Ralph Macchio from, of course, the original lineage of the Karate Kid, blend them together. That's what we're going for here, I guess, with this new Karate Kid movie. Have to say, sounds interesting. I have not watched Cobra Kai, by the way. I've heard good things. I have not watched it. I'm really, honestly not a Karate Kid dude. I think I watched the first one once. I don't even know if I watched the second one. Maybe I watched it, but it's just not my cup of tea. Then finally, wrapping things up here in segment 2 here on Sports Frenzy, the weekend edition. Hopefully you have gotten through your eggs, your bacon, your coffee, your aspirin. You're getting your energy levels back up. Adrenaline starting to pump and flow through your veins. If you care about the Golden Globes, they are moving to CBS now officially. January the 7th, 2024, the Golden Globes will be on CBS, and I guarantee you Dave and I will make fun of it the week after. But that will do it for segment 2. here on the weekend edition. We have got a little bit of TV and streaming to talk about, moments of silence, and a hell of a lot of dumbasses in the pop culture world. About 30 more minutes left of fun, frivolity. I'm the Maestro, Kevin Crane. Quick promo break, and I will be right back for our final segment. Hello, I'm James Cameron, prestigious film director. And since it takes me over a decade to make a movie, I've got plenty of time between takes to listen to my favorite podcast, Sports Frenzy 2.0, on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Stitcher, Amazon, and Audible. Hey, wait, I'm having an epiphany. I have a new idea. Summer of 2035. Blue robots from the future on a doomed ocean liner. Oh, brilliant. Where's Arnold? Get me Schwarzenegger. What about DiCaprio? Oh, what about Edward Furlong? We know he's not doing anything. All right, third and final segment here on the weekend edition of Sports Frenzy 2.0, dropping November the 25th, 2023. I hope you guys all had a safe Thanksgiving and you didn't get trampled by crazy, stupid people on Black Friday, although I guess that's kind of not the way things work anymore. We all sit at home in our chairs, our office chairs, our easy chairs, on our tablets, on our phones, on our laptops, and we order online. So you're not going to have to deal with the smelly Walmart people, but you still have to deal with me. I am the Maestro, Kevin Crane. One final segment left here on Sports Frenzy 2.0, the weekend edition. Your Uncle Dave is off this week. This is kind of a teaser for TV and streaming. Not a lot to talk about, but Fargo. Season 5 of Fargo has started up here this past week on FX. If you have Hulu, you can watch it on that. Fargo is fascinating. It has always, each and every season, been very, very good, very entertaining, twisted, violent, bloody, crazy, sometimes nutsy cuckoo, and it looks like this season will be no different. I've gotten through most of the first episode of season 5. Of course, your Uncle Dave and I will review it week by week here now that we have no Doom Patrol anymore. John Hamm is in this. Jennifer Jason Leigh. Very, very devious and nasty from what I can tell here early on. Fargo, the TV series, lets these actors and actresses go balls to the wall. Explore the character, make it as evil, as nasty, or as good and as pure as you can. Looking forward to giving you guys an update each and every week on Fargo Season 5. Start watching it. Review it along with us. Drop comments as you will. Of course, you can find us wherever you are listening right now, but you can also find us on Spotify, Google, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Apple, Overcast, Castbox, Amazon Music, Audible, and iHeartRadio. Now, of course, Dave's not here, but he is a huge, huge fan of Michael Connelly's Harry Bosch book series. And of course, he's been watching as Bosch, the series, played out over, I believe, 5 seasons on Amazon Prime. And now they've moved it over to Freevee with Bosch Legacy. But now he's got even more good stuff coming. Taking one of the characters from the Harry Bosch series, Renee Ballard will get her own series coming soon to Amazon Prime. Now, Dave and I talk about books a lot, so you'll have to forgive us. I know people don't read anymore, which is pathetic, sad, and ridiculous. Now, Dave reads 575 books a year. I read 12. But a lot of these authors that have been around for a long time, like Michael Connelly, like Jonathan Kellerman, John Sanford, of course, the late, great Robert B. Parker, Lee Child, they have created indelible characters. Some of them have made it onto the big screen or the small screen. Good versions, bad versions, faithful, sellouts. Of course, Jack Reacher coming up here in a couple weeks on Amazon Prime Season 2, the brainchild of Lee Child. They're doing a fantastic version with that. Dave, of course, has signed off on what they're doing here with Harry Bosch. Of course, Titus Welliver, great actor, plays Harry Bosch. Not my thing in terms of priority viewing. I've watched a little bit of it. It's very good. Very, very good. I just wonder, when are we going to get Alex Delaware? Jonathan Kellerman's great psychiatrist who's been around for years and years, decades, with his detective compatriot Milo Sturgis. Now, a lot of these authors, they keep very close tabs on their properties. We've heard in the past Clive Cussler, the late great Clive Cussler. He did not like what they did with Raise the Titanic back in the 70s. He waited 2 decades before he signed off on another Dirk Pitt movie. That one, of course, Sahara with Matthew McConaughey. Did not like that either. So again, Dirk Pitt is now gone, disappeared. Don't know when we'll ever see him again. John Sanford's Lucas Davenport. They have botched, in my opinion, twice with made-for-TV crap. Mark Harmon and Eric LaSalle. I find it ridiculous that Hollywood doesn't take these already written stories, written by professionals, written by great authors, and they can't figure out a way to translate them to the silver screen without pissing off the people that came up with the ideas and the characters and the stories in the first place. Oh, wait, maybe that doesn't surprise me. Well, if you like Ted, of course, the raunchy comedy with Mark Wahlberg, and of course, there was Ted 2, which was a bomb compared to the massive hit that the first movie was. Of course, Ted is the brainchild of Seth MacFarlane. Peacock has got what you need. Peacock has got your Ted fix. Ted the series is coming to Peacock January the 11th, 2024. Oh boy, I can hardly wait. I'm a big fan of Law and Order, but I have to admit I've been kind of watching it on and off. The original only. I hate Special Victims Unit. It's disgusting. It's nasty. To me, it's terrible. It's an awful watch. I don't need to hear about rapes and child molestation every week. If I want that, I'll look at Fox News. But Law and Order, the original concept, the original structure of the first Law and Order, I loved it. Still on after bringing it back. I think they took, 8-9 years off? And I love Jeffrey Donovan, of course, from Burn Notice. He's leaving Law and Order now. Reed Scott, whoever the hell Reed Scott is, he's replacing Jeffrey Donovan on Law and Order. Great news for sci-fi fans. And I love this show. It's one of the main reasons that I keep Netflix. Black Mirror. Twisted, demented, focusing on technology and how it can destroy our lives. Black Mirror will be back, confirmed by Netflix, for season 7. Now, who knows? It could be 3 episodes, could be 13, who knows? But Black Mirror is absolutely fucking awesome. And thank God we're getting another season of that. So at least we have a little bit of quality television and streaming content to look forward to. If you're still into The Walking Dead, I'm like clinging. I'm like the guy hanging on to the edge with 2 fingers, and there's an evil dude sitting there stomping on the fingers. That's how I feel about Walking Dead. I haven't watched it in a while, but I'm still interested. I'm still kind of thinking, sort of, possibly about getting back into it. Dead City, of course, just ended. And now, The Ones Who Live, of course, bringing back Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln, along with Michonne. Walking Dead, The Ones Who Live will debut on February the 25th of 2024 on AMC. And of course, it's Black Friday weekend, so let's talk about deals and more deals. I don't know. I don't want to encourage anybody to watch garbage, to watch crap. I'm the kind of guy that says go back and watch the old stuff. I've already said it on this episode. Go back and watch the old stuff, the quality stuff. But couple decent deals out there if you can track them down. Hulu. I'm seeing you can get Hulu for 99 cents a month for a year if you jump on it this weekend. And if you want HBO Max, yes, I still call it HBO Max. Deal floating out there, $3 a month for 6 months. Now, there might be some qualifications here. You might have to be a returning customer or a new customer. I'm telling you, these streaming services are struggling. They charge too much for garbage, especially Max. Max is total, complete garbage. It's all reality television now. And Blue Beetle. But take advantage of these deals when you can, if you want to. All right, let's move on, unfortunately, to moments of silence in the world of pop culture. First up, Joss Ackland. Who, you might ask, is Joss Ackland? Joss Ackland was the villain in the fantastic first sequel to Lethal Weapon. Yes, that would be Lethal Weapon 2. Great, great movie. Joss Ackland was awesome as the villain. Thoughts and prayers to his family and friends. George Brown, who played drums with Kool and the Gang, unfortunately has passed away. The son of Dana Carvey, Dex Carvey, has passed away, an accidental drug overdose. A little bit of a story time here. We talked about the fact that next week we're going to review Chris Isaak live in concert. Well, the restaurant we went to before we saw that concert was a revamped, repurposed movie theater. Great place, called the 5-Star Dive Bar. Shout out to Q, awesome, awesome waitress. We sat in a booth where the poster for the movie Jaws, the original poster for Jaws, was hanging in our booth. Again, you get the movie theme. They had relocated into this area recently, keeping the vibe, the original cinematic vibe going. The man who created that poster, who did the artwork for that poster, as well as the poster for The Empire Strikes Back, his name was Roger Castell, and he unfortunately left us over the past couple weeks. Jaws and The Empire Strikes Back, two of the most iconic movie posters of all time. And I love movie poster art. I love it. To me, that is art. To me, that is a form of art. I don't need to see 3 Amish women milking a cow in a Dutch landscape. Give me a great, glorious, detailed, awesome, colorful movie poster any day of the week. Then, of course, we have to acknowledge, finally, not really pop culture, but Rosalind Carter. Jimmy Carter was not the greatest leader of the free world. In fact, he was one of the worst, if not the worst, but the good, the great things that he and his wife, Rosalind Carter, did after he left office in 1980. This should serve as a purpose for all of us, a beacon of hope for all of us. If you fail at one thing, it doesn't mean you can't be unbelievably outstanding at something else. And that's what the Carters did. Jimmy Carter was awful as a president. I remember growing up, long lines at the gas pumps. He couldn't negotiate the freedom, the release of hostages in Iran. Of course, Ronald Reagan came in 2 seconds later, boom, confetti, they're out. But Jimmy Carter and his wife, Rosalind Carter, did so much for communities across this country from that point forward. Such great people. We will miss Rosalind Carter. And I hope Jimmy hangs on. I do. I hope this isn't one of those deals where the wife dies and the husband, they're just like linked together forever, and he passes on because he can't go on without her. He's got kids. He's got a daughter. Hang in there, Jimmy. Hang in there. Just because I thought you were a terrible president does not mean you have not done amazing things in the 40 plus years since you were president. But thoughts and prayers out to the Carter family. Now, of course, we have to move on to the idiots. We move on from the good people to the idiots. Let's start off with Snoop Dogg. I hate Snoop Dogg. I hate him more than life itself. Well, that's a little extreme, but still. I hate this implied thing with him and Martha Stewart. And if they're banging, that's fine. I don't have a problem with it, but good Lord, I just don't get the appeal. He's an ugly man. He's not talented. Now he's a smart businessman. He's like Sammy Hagar. You know, he knows how to make things work when it comes to marketing, advertising, promoting his brand. I'll give him that. And that's what we're talking about here. This just, again, I'm just sick of it. It goes too far. And the media bought into it. And they are as much to blame here. And they are as much a bunch of dumbasses as Snoop Dogg is here as I get into this. So, of course, the big news a week ago, Snoop Dogg. He's quitting smoking. Of course, we all know what that means, right? Snoop Dogg is not going to smoke marijuana anymore. He's not going to partake of the ganja. Oh, no. No. He fooled everybody. Again, another wonderful, clever, wink, wink marketing ploy from Snoop Dogg. He quit smoking because he is advertising, he's promoting a smokeless fire pit. Can we just stop with this garbage? Can we just stop with this crap? Again, he's not interesting. He's not charismatic. He's an ass bag. And he's not talented. But somehow he's become a spokesman for anything and everything in our country. And it becomes big news when he says he's going to stop smoking because, God forbid, Snoop Dogg isn't going to smoke pot anymore. Oh, no, wait. It's yet another clever marketing ploy from Snoop Dogg. I don't care if you like it. I think he's a dumbass. Real quick here, a show that Dave and I both loved. Netflix, you're dumbasses this week. How dare you cancel Agent Elvis? Agent Elvis is brilliant. Agent Elvis, raunchy, funny. The pop culture references were brilliant. Come on. Keep quality TV on. Keep quality streaming shows on. Canceling Agent Elvis, terrible move. Netflix, you're dumbasses. The Billboard Music Awards. I can't deal with any of these awards anymore when it comes to music. I can't deal with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I can't deal with the Grammys. We all know you're trying to kill rock and roll. It will not die. We will not let it die here on Sports Frenzy. We will not let it die. But you're going to try. And the Billboard Music Awards are the latest example. Zach Bryan. Yes, Zach Bryan, country artist, wins top rock artist, top rock album, and top rock song. Give me a motherfucking break. Stop it. Just get rid of the rock category altogether. I'm tired of this. The Grammys, Olivia Rodrigo is rock. Stop it. It's not rock and roll. She's not rock and roll. Zach Bryan is not rock and roll. It's disgusting how you are all trying to destroy rock and roll. Of course, I already spoiled one of the dumbasses of the week for you earlier, talking about Sammy Hagar. Finally, I know this is a big issue, big topic. I am not Jewish. Dave's not Jewish. But we don't understand the hatred for Jewish people. We don't understand the rampant anti-Semitism that's going on in this country right now. I don't think we want hate for anybody. We don't want violence perpetrated on anybody. We don't want war. We don't want people killed. One person dies, that person's thoughts, their ideas, their emotions die with them. And again, this is kind of a sci-fi thing, but you could be killing in one of these senseless wars, in a senseless protest. You could be killing the next leader of the free world who could actually make things better for us 20, 30, 40 years down the road. Yet it continues. It goes on and on and on. So we have war with Ukraine and Russia. We have war between Palestine, Hamas, and Israel. And these idiot celebrities in Hollywood who know nothing about what's going on have to throw their idiotic 2 cents in. And thank God that they are getting called out for it. Susan Sarandon, one of the most overrated actresses of all time, who of course is in Blue Beetle, was dropped by her talent agency, UTA, because she was spouting anti-Semitic hate speech at a rally recently. But she's not the only one. Scream, the movies have rekindled, after a long time off, rebooted interest. We had Scream 5, Scream 6, both doing very, very well. Of course, Neve Campbell, for different reasons altogether, decided not to proceed after Scream 5. Courtney Cox still aboard. Scream 6, very, very popular here recently. They were starting up Scream 7, pre-production, getting a script together, getting all the actors and actresses back together to keep the momentum going. Of course, if you've watched Scream 5, Scream 6, you know the two sisters at the forefront of those movies were Melissa Barrera and Jenny Ortega. Of course, Jenna Ortega, very, very big hit on Netflix with Wednesday, spinoff from the Addams Family. Melissa Barrera, unfortunately, dropped from Scream 7 because of anti-Semitic social media posts. Now, Jenna Ortega is also out. I find it odd that she drops out within like 24 to 48 hours later, not because Melissa Barrera was basically fired, but because she says there's a conflict in my schedule with taping Wednesday. Huh. So we will spare Jenna Ortega, but Melissa Barrera, again, the hate in Hollywood is pathetic, ridiculous. Melissa Barrera is a dumbass. You're not. You listen to us each and every week. We'll be back in 7 days, kids. I'm the Maestro. Peace out.
Bum-ba-dee-da, bum-ba-dee-da, bum-ba-dee-da. Happy trails to you until we meet again. Happy trails to you. Keep smiling until then.
Who cares about the clouds when we're together? Just sing a song and think about sunny weather. Happy trails to you until we meet again.